Hello, niece and nephew, it's Uncle Matt. I'm just kidding. Welcome back to the range. My name is Matt. I've got a body armor test today. I've seen this one a lot on Instagram and Facebook, but this is from Prime Armor. This is their level 3 all polyethylene. This guy's claim to fame is it supposedly can stop M855, or our green tip 62 grain full metal jacket, from SBRs. This guy is very, very thick, 1.3 inches. I think this is the thickest plate that I've tested to date. It weighs 4 pounds. For our testing slash demos here at the range, I try to stick to a few NIJ constants so we have good data to take away from these videos to compare against other armor that I've tested. So we shoot at 45 feet. That is the official NIJ testing distance for rifle armor. We shoot at 0 degrees because that is worst case scenario. We also use a chronograph so we can record the velocity of these different types of rounds that we shoot at it so that we know if that plate stops M193 at 3,200 feet per second, someone shooting it out of a shorter barrel length is not going to be a problem. This does not employ any kind of ceramic in its strike face, so we have no need to drop it on its face. We also use a giant clay briefcase filled with Roma Plastilina #1 clay that we use as a compressible media and just a giant structure to mount our body armor to. It's only about 35 degrees outside today, but I have been heating the clay before I started this test, so the clay is going to be warm, so it should show us some back face, but it's not going to be true NIJ back face representation. At the beginning of my video, I put a spreadsheet right here, so it kind of foreshadows all the different rounds that we're going to shoot at it, and I fill out all the information at the end. In full transparency, Prime Armor sent me that panel with no strings attached for me to destroy as I please. All right, we're ready to rock and roll, and for our first shots, we're going to use 5.7 by 28 millimeter. Traditionally, this round excels at penetrating level 3A armor, and then once you get to rifle armor, this has no chance whatsoever. But I have SS190 here, that is the 31 grain armor piercing round in 5.7. It's very similar to M855. It has a identical conical steel core, or steel tip, but it has an aluminum core. It's going around, I think, 2,300 feet per second. In our Kel-Tec P50 that we have here, we have a Kestrel 22 suppressor, primary arms 1 to 6 power up top, very compact little package. With polyethylene, it's really good at stopping speed, but once you introduce hardened penetrators into the mix, that's where it has trouble. But this plate is unique, like I said, because it's 1.3 inches thick. There's quite a bit of offset on the scope, but I haven't dialed it in, so this one's going to be in the top left, but it's probably going to be somewhere near the P on prime by the time I get it in there. And then this one will be next to it. And then this one I'll place the lower part of the plate, probably end up around the date. Before we go down and look at our plate, I figure we maximize the amount of time if we shoot a bunch of threats and then go check it out. With this particular style plate, we should be able to do that and be able to discern where those shots are. So I have another interesting threat. I have intentional subsonic M855A1. This is going to give us a 600-700 yard engagement. Then I have M855. That is our 62 grain full metal jacket with the conical steel tip. This is particularly interesting. It should be 2,600 feet per second. So if this particular plate stops that, that's something a lot of polyethylene cannot do. We have a 10.5 inch SBR with a turbo 556 on there. We should be about 3 inches low at this distance with this scope. The 2 intentional subsonics will be first. They will not cycle the action. All right, now our full power M855. That'll be on the left side of the plate. Then the right side, second shot. And then this one I'm going to place in the middle. I know the suspense is killing you, but I have one more barrel length that we're going to shoot at this before we go and see what we've done. We have 2 more rounds of M855. We have a 16-inch Stag Model 1L EOTech up top, Hyperfire 24C trigger. The EOTech is way too bright. That's on the left side of the plate. Shooting towards the bottom. Cool. All right, let's go see what we did. All right, we have a lot of shots on this plate, but we have them marked out, and I believe them all to be fair hits. Here was our intentional subsonic M855A1. Here was our M855 from the 10.5 inch. Here was our P90 SS190 number 1, number 2. Then our M855 SBR number 1. Our other intentional subsonic number 2. This was M855 again. SS190 number 3. Our 16-inch M855 number 1 and number 2. Place those bets in the comments below. I'm very interested about the performance against M855. Ho! No pass-through, folks. Even our 16-inch M855 stopped in this plate. Well, now I'm going to have to shoot the 22-inch at it, but I think that might be a little too much velocity for this plate. But otherwise, all those other threats have been stopped. I use that intentional subsonic M855A1 as kind of a quality judgment for our polyethylene. In the past, some level 3 all polyethylene plates have been unable to stop it, but I think this giant 1.3 inch thick plate is working in its favor for its overall thickness. Impressive. All right, time to bring out Mr. Long and Strong. We have our 22-inch TC compass with our Turbo 556, so maximum real-world velocity on this. I'm pretty sure M855 is going to go through on this. I would be amazed if it didn't. We also have M193 right here. That is the Independence M193. We should see 32 to 3,300 feet per second because it's cold outside today. I'll take those shots first. So this will be on the right side of the plate. I don't know if I got a velocity reading off that. Might have been too far off to the side. I'll place this one right to the left of it. I do believe we got a velocity off that. Oh, chronograph reconnected. This one I'll place down to above the weight. Now our M855, this will be all the way at the top. And top right. Okay, M855 shot number 1 was right there. Shot number 2 was right there. Now that's about an inch from that shot. That would not be considered a fair hit in the NIJ's mind, but I think we'll consider that good for us. I'll definitely consider that a fair hit. M193, number 1 was right there. Number 2 was right there. And then number 3 was all the way down there. Like I said, with a pure polyethylene plate, M193 generally is not a concern because they're good at stopping speed. Uh-oh, R.A.N.G.E. We have a penetration from our 22-inch M855 over there. We'll have to definitely take that apart to double check at the end. but it stopped the second one. And then our M193s, there's a bump there, but no pass-through. This plate continues to impress me. Like I said, polyethylene is not rated for M855. Maybe they should special rifle threat test this plate in an NIJ lab to see what the limit of that is. Now we'll see how well our polyethylene layers are put together and how well that really thick plate does at controlling backface. So far with our 5.56 threats, it's done a really good job, but now we stepped up to our 308. This is our 22-inch TC compass. It's got the Yankee Hill Phantom M2 on it, and we've got our favorite surplus Poon Sang M80 ball, 145, 150 grain, going somewhere between 27 and 2,800 feet per second, depending on the weather. It is surplus, so sometimes I don't see that great of velocity out of it. We are losing darkness out of here. I apologize. It's winter time around here, but I can still see the plate. So this one's going to be the upper left of the plate. This one will be right side of the plate. I'm not sure if I got a velocity off that. Our final threat for today, totally unrealistic, but why the heck not? I'm very impressed with this plate. We've got our Ruger Precision Magnum in 338 La Pua. We've got our R.A.N.G.E Optics Gen 2 up top. I think there's two good spots left on this plate. This is a 250 grain OTM. We should see around 2,900 feet per second with this. If it stops this, we're going to see maximum backface on this guy. I'm going to place this one on the left side of the plate, kind of where it says armor. And then this one, I'm going to try to place right in the center. Out here at the range, we're constantly proving that plates are capable of multi-hit, at least some of our higher quality ones. Our M80 ball shot, number 1, was right here, far enough away from those other hits, I consider that fair. The second one was right down here. Now, Mr. 338 La Pua, shot number 1 and shot number 2. Now, obviously, there are AP versions of 338 La Pua. Typically, though, it's got OTMs or jacketed hollow points or soft points, and those are going to be engaged at distance. No pass-through. Like I said, the clay is cold, so, you know, Prime Armor would definitely be interested to shoot this plate with a 338 La Pua in an NIJ test to see how much backface it actually produces. So there is a, you know, quite a big dimple there, but like I said, the clay's hard, so it's not going to push all the way down. Maybe cutting it close in real world, but that is impressive. 338 La Pua stopped in this plate. There's not going to be much to tear down, but we will take it apart to see if the layers are pressed and if our M855 made it through or not. Here is our Prime Armor Level 3 all polyethylene plate, the teardown. We have a good amount of that foam on the back, high density, not overly thick. I would say that's a good compromise between having it and not having it. It tends to break away when we get into these larger threats like 308 and the 338, and doesn't really do a whole lot, I feel, but a little bit doesn't do too bad. As we like to confirm, our only penetration on this entire plate was that M855 shot from the 22-inch barrel right up there. Our 338 La Pua, that second shot, or maybe the first, left the biggest dent. Now we talk about having a pressed plate. I'm not sure how well this plate is pressed, but there are sections of it that are fairly tight together. It just isn't like a book that you can peel the layers on. I would say I've seen plates that are pressed better, but this does a pretty good job. It took me a little bit to peel it apart.
But one of the interesting things is here's that intentional subsonic M855A1, and it's pretty much still in one piece. And there you see, maybe that is the tip of it. There is our tip on our M855A1 intentional subsonic. Very interesting that it's able to do that. That extra thickness here goes a long way in slowing bullets down, and if it can upset them is what causes them typically to get stopped. But like I said, with M855 or things with hardened steel penetrators, it can easily penetrate things. Here were the two 338 Lapua shots. The second one obviously made it the farthest in there, but look at, I mean, it only made it to that layer, and this is how much more of that plate was left. Just here's some more of the damage of that. Otherwise, then I don't think there's too much more on this plate. There's the front of it. I mean, with M193, you could place a lot more shots on this plate. We may have to do a follow-up and see if there's a velocity limit for M855A1. Is it the 7.5-inch barrel, the 10.5-inch, or could this potentially stop a 16-inch M855A1? I think I might have to take back all the bad things I've ever said about a pure polyethylene plate. Our Prime Armor Level 3 plate thoroughly impressed me on its capabilities. If I were them, in my honest opinion, I would probably send this off to an NIJ lab and have them officially test what the upper limits of stopping M855 is. Who knows, it actually could pass our RF2 specifications. I think the biggest advantage to pure 100% polyethylene plates is that they are lightweight, and if you live in an area where you need something that floats, that can be a deciding factor for you. I think the only downside to this particular plate is its overall thickness at 1.3 inches thick. Although I did a test fit in all of my few carriers that I have, Bees Combat, Low Profile, an AR500 Invictus, the AR500 Armor Veritas, and a Templar's Gear carrier. And the only one that I couldn't get it in was the Invictus, although I actually tried to fit it after I shot it, so it was a little deformed, but I was able to get it in all the other plate carriers without an issue, even with it being 1.3 inches thick. If it was multi-curve, that may be a deciding factor. Well, everyone, Santa Claus is coming to town. I need to get the heck out of here. At the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible. Number one is my Patreon supporters. Number two is Prime Armor, who in full transparency sent me that level 3 to destroy with no strings attached. If you guys want to see me test more of their products or anything like it, always leave me a comment below. And of course, number 3 is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range.